When children engage in tantrums or other problem behaviors, it may be very distressing for caregivers. But they may be trying to communicate something to us. They are not trying to be difficult or a bad kid. They are trying to say something we may not necessarily understand. In this episode of Behavior Nation's Caregiver Education video series, we will discuss why functions of behavior are important, the 4 different functions of behavior, how to determine them, and do a hands-on exercise for some practice. All behaviors serve a function, which means all behaviors have a reason why they occur. Even if the behavior may seem random, there is always a reason why an individual is engaging in that particular behavior. By knowing the function or reason, we can teach the learner skills and appropriate behaviors that may result in the same outcomes for them as the undesired behavior. The 4 functions of behavior are escape, attention, tangible, and sensory. First, we will discuss escape or avoidance. This means the individual is trying to get out of or avoid doing something. An example of this is Jordan's dad walked into the room and told him, "It's time to do your homework." Jordan began throwing toys on the floor and stating, "No, I don't want to." Dad stated, "Okay, fine, you can do it after dinner." In this example, Jordan was trying to communicate that he didn't want to do his homework, but may not necessarily have the skills to let us know that he doesn't want to. So he engaged in throwing toys instead of simply stating, "I don't want to," or "Can I do it later?" since throwing toys was easier and more effective in getting him out of doing the homework in the moment. Attention means the individual is trying to gain attention from another person. This attention can be negative or positive, meaning that it can be in a form of a praise or a reprimand, such as "great job" or "no, don't hit." An example of attention-maintained behavior is Julia got out of her seat and began running around the classroom. The teacher stated, "Stop running and sit down." Julia continued to run around the classroom while looking and smiling at the teacher. In this example, Julia was reinforced by the negative attention that she was receiving from the teacher. If Julia was not running around the classroom, the teacher would not pay attention to her or tell her to sit down on her seat. Tangible means the individual is trying to gain access to an item or activity they may not have access to. This could also be if something is being taken away from them and they want more time with it. Katie was playing with a toy when her classmate took the toy away. Katie then began crying and hitting the classmate until she got the toy back. What she may be trying to communicate by hitting and crying is that she wants to keep using the toy or wants more time with it. Lastly, sensory or automatic is when an individual is engaging in the behavior because it provides them with stimulation that feels good. Think about when we have a bug bite. We scratch or itch at it because it feels good and relieves the itchiness. An example of this is Jimmy was playing cars with his dad when his dad stepped out of the room to answer a phone call. Jimmy began spinning the wheels of the cars repeatedly and stared at the wheel while it was spinning. Jimmy was doing this because he could have been bored or because he liked looking at the wheels spin. Keep in mind that Dad was not in the room when he was engaging in this behavior, and oftentimes we do not need access to another individual to engage in a sensory maintained behavior. Now that we understand the different functions of behavior, let's take a look on how to determine the hypothesized function. We can do this by observing what occurred just prior to the behavior and what happened immediately after the behavior. Another way is the clinical team needs to conduct a functional behavior assessment, and in some instances, a functional assessment to determine the function of behavior. Once the function is determined, the clinical team create what's called a behavior intervention plan to reduce the future inappropriate or undesired behavior and help teach functional communication or other skills which may be appropriate alternatives and will provide the client with the same outcome. A behavior intervention plan is an outline of how we can alter the environment or our engagement with the environment to decrease a challenging behavior and teach a socially appropriate alternative which provide the individual with the same outcome. It includes antecedent manipulations, which are strategies for what to do before the behavior occurs to prevent the behavior from happening. For example, we might set a timer to warn or prime the child before removing an item to prevent a tantrum from occurring. It also includes replacement behaviors. These are behaviors that provide the same function or outcome as the challenging behavior. We might teach the learner to request for attention by calling out someone's name or tapping on the shoulder instead of throwing toys. Lastly, consequence manipulations are strategies we need to do after the problem behavior occurs to decrease it from happening in the future. No longer providing reinforcement for the challenging behavior and instead reinforcing the alternative appropriate behavior. For example, not allowing the child to escape from homework if they yell, "No, I don't want to." But if they ask for a break or ask if they can do it later, they can have a break from the homework. Now that we have a good idea of the functions, let's practice. Tommy was playing video games when his mom told him it was time for homework. Tommy began crying and kicking his feet on the floor. Mom then told him he could do it after dinner and Tommy stopped crying. What do you think the function is? Click the pause button on the video, try this exercise, and resume when you are ready. The function in this example is escape. Tommy wanted to escape doing his homework, so he began crying and Mom let him continue playing his video games. So we should teach Tommy to ask for a break or ask to do it later. We can also teach him to ask for help with his homework. Let's try another example. Susie's mom was talking to the behavior therapist during session when Susie began throwing her toys across the room. Mother stated, "I don't know why, but she always does this when I'm on the phone too." Mother went over to Susie and she stopped throwing her toys. What is the function? If you said attention, you are correct. Attention was diverted away from Susie and she was trying to communicate that she wanted her mother to pay attention to her. So, what should we teach Susie to do instead? We should teach her to ask for attention by calling out someone's name or tapping on someone's shoulder instead of throwing toys across the room. Thank you for watching. I hope you found this information useful. If you have any questions, email us at info@behaviornation.com or call us at 844-262-8466.